We often need to convert non-string types into strings. Having a value as a string makes it easy to do things like build a message or display output to a user. The string class provides a helper method called valueOf that provides overloads that will handle converting many different types to strings. And using it's really straightforward. So we have something like an integer here, ival, that we set to 100. If we say sval equals string.valueOf ival, sval will get the string 100. Now, valueOf is useful when you need to do those explicit conversions, but very often Java will take care of doing conversions to strings for you automatically. Let's say we have some code here where we have two integers. I has a value of 2 and j has a value of 3. If I say result equals I times j, and I now want to display out to the user a full string showing the operation and the result. So if I say I followed by plus and the string space asterisk space, when Java sees that I'm taking an integer with a plus and the other is a string, it knows that I actually want the string representation of I. So now if I go in and say plus j plus space equals space, then plus result, Java will go through and convert I, j, and result to strings for us, and then concatenate them all together so we get that complete string, 2 space times space 3 space equals space 6. It builds that string together for us and took care of those conversions. Now in this case we're dealing with a very simple type, right? A primitive type, an integer. But what about things like more complex types, like classes where the string representation's not so easily known? Well, that's where the toString method comes in. Remember we talked about that the object class provides some standard methods that all classes will have. ToString is the one we use to get the string representation of a class. Let's take a look at some code for that. Now remember that we have our flight class that we've been using throughout the course. So here we create a flight class instance with a flight number of 175. If I now say print line my flight is, and then we simply concatenate on my flight, what Java is going to do is call toString on the object referenced by my flight. Now we haven't implemented toString in the flight class, so it's going to call the implementation from the object class. And what that will do is give us results that look something like this, where of course we have that literal string my flight is, but then what we get is the fully qualified class name, including the package that it's in, followed by an @ symbol, followed by whatever values returned by the hashcode method. So that gives us kind of a unique representation of this instance, but it's not really very helpful. Right, so we can improve that. So if we look at our flight class, remember that our flight class had two ways of identifying flights. A flight could be created to have a flight number, or a flight could be created to have a flight class. So what we want to do now is have our toString method represent a given flight instance in a meaningful way. So we'll go ahead and override toString. What we'll do here is we'll check and say, well, if it's a flight that has a flight number, what we're going to do is return back the string flight space hash, and then add on the flight number. If it's a flight that has a flight class instead, we're just going to say flight space class space and whatever that class character is. So now if we take a look at this code over here, when we call print line, what we're going to actually get out is my flight is flight number 175. So now we're getting back a more meaningful string representation of that object instance. And that's what we want to do inside of our toString method, is provide that meaningful representation of an instance as a string.